Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Summer Camp Marketing Calendar webinar. It's Travis Allison from camphacker.ca. We're going to just quickly go over the beginnings of this and how to use it. Will take us about an hour, but as I say, there'll be breaks to ask questions along the way. I also know that there will be more people joining us as we go and more people watching the video after this webinar is over. So I want to start with why we created the Summer Camp Marketing Calendar. And it comes out of a couple of different places or a couple of different needs that we heard from clients and people at my camp marketing presentations at different conferences. And really it is, how do I find the time and how do I be strategic about what I'm doing so that so that I know that my efforts on social media are working to market our camp. So that's what all this is for. You can see some of the explanation written right on the first paragraph in the first sheet called How to Use This Marketing Calendar. And really, there's a couple of things we'll just touch on, and then I get into the posting plan, which I think is the heart of what we can do here. Number one is to look at the buying seasons of camp. When we look at how parents buy camp, we know that it is a big investment, that it involves their kids, so they're going to do a ton of research before they actually pull the trigger and buy camp. And so we have to take account for that and give parents lots of time to develop that know, like, and trust for us. And develop the feeling for these are people who will look after my child really well and are smart about it, conscientious, etc. So that may be up to 2 years before they actually send their kid to camp. So in buying season, I want you to think about that you need to start preparing camp parents for the actual purchase of summer camp, returning families and new families long before, a month before your early bird deadline, that you need to give them stuff throughout as much as 12 months ahead of time on demonstrating why you're the right camp for them, why it's a good place for their child, etc. And I just posted a blog post on camphacker.tv this week about the one question you should be asking parents. And that question is, what development have you seen in your child since they've been coming to summer camp or been coming to our camp? And the answer to that is what you use to sell to other parents. Parents want to know that their child is safe. So in all of the things you do, you need to first consider that you're showing that what you have to offer at camp is incredibly safe. But also then that the parents will want to know, how will my child grow? What development will they see because of their experience there? And all of that goes into your planning using this tool. There are two definitions that I want to go over. One is scheduling your posts, and there are a number of different pieces of software that you can use to do this, but I would encourage you to use this marketing calendar to write all your posts ahead of time and have them ready to go a month or even 2 months in advance, and then use something like Hootsuite or even the Facebook, where you post a new post to Facebook. You can schedule that and use that feature to schedule for the next 8 weeks on one of the theme days, for example. There are other tools. We in our company at Social Catalyst, we use a tool called Sprout Social, but it's pretty expensive. And unless you're at an organization that had a number of camps, I think it would be hard to justify, but it makes it really nice and easy. But Hootsuite's not that expensive. And if you paid their monthly fee, you could write the posts in the calendar, then move them, cut and paste them into a spreadsheet and upload the spreadsheet that would say, on this date, at this time, post this, on the next date, post it, etc. So that's what I mean by scheduling your posts. The other thing that is a good definition to start with is deep links. And deep links is an idea that Google will reward you in search engine results if you can send people deeper than the front page of your website. So if you send them into pieces of information that are incredibly helpful, usually the front page of a website is not actually helpful to parents. It gives them a place to start, a place to identify, do I already go to camp, or are we considering going to camp? And then select what path you choose. But by drawing attention to things like here's our summer kitchen plan. Here's what we're going to be serving on these days. Here's how we work with our local health inspector to make sure that our kitchen's safe, etc. If you can do anything to start to show those things that you've already written, that are old blog posts, that are old frequently asked questions, and draw them back to the surface using your social media, then Google will notice that some of those internal pages are starting to get more value, and then hopefully we'll start to show them more in the search results. So there is a way using the second and last tab that we have here, this content repository, there's a way to look at your website, your old blog posts, and say, here are the ones that are most helpful to parents that are already written, and let's figure a way to get them into the schedule. It'll also, by using this, it'll say, and some smart evaluation talking with your team, how can we better answer questions of new time and first time parents? How can we better show parents that safety is our number one priority, followed by child development, etc. And you can then plan for the blog post that you're going to rewrite, because you know from the calendar that the blog post, planning for blog posts is included within this actual calendar. The place where I want to spend a fair amount of time today is on this simple posting plan that I included in the first sheet. And this is really drawn from our experience in working with clients. Within our company, we have a service called Social Media Publishing where we take over an organization's Facebook or Twitter, etc., and we write one blog post a day, so that no matter how busy they are, those companies have comfort in knowing that there's at least one new thing coming out from us every day. And we like to tell them that that is their baseline, and that anything that they come across, here's a video of something fun that happened in our office. We had this client drop in for a visit, and here's a photo of them and us. All that you can add on top of it, but at least you've got your bases covered. And the way that we plan that is to come up with a posting plan such as what I've given you here under the sample posting plan. We have a theme for each day and then some sample topics. And what I did is I just took a generic camp and thought, what would be some good examples that I've seen from other camps, and what would be some things that you would want to cover in order to make parents more comfortable with you, and also to put out good information that others would want to refer. Knowing that, especially when it comes to Facebook, the real currency of Facebook for a business is like, comment, and share. And if you can get your fans to like, comment, and share the things that you put out there, then they'll get seen by more people. And I used to say in presentations that it looked like fans of your page, when you wrote a post on your Facebook page, that about 16% of your fans would see it, unless something happened like it got shared a lot, there were a lot of comments, a lot of likes, etc., or you paid to have a promoted post. But I've been recently hearing that that number is actually 3 or 4% of the people that like your page. So you should definitely be trying to increase the number of likes, but also writing more posts on a theme so people can expect what to come, so that it gets shared more, and they use that information to refer your camp to other families. So here are the themes that I've come up with on this. Monday is our strong history, or the Monday of memories. I know another camp that does Throwback Thursday. Really just pick a day. The day isn't as important as the fact that I think it should be something that people grow to expect, that they learn what's coming on Monday, what's coming on Tuesday, etc. And really the philosophy behind what you're posting out there needs to be a balance of building community with your existing families. Here's who's been hired, here's who's coming back next summer, here's some new activities, etc. This is when reunion is. I would say that should be about 25% of your posting, and 75% of it should be, here is good information about summer camp, about our camp in particular, so that it's easier for new families to get to know us, feel comfortable with sending us their kids. And so Monday is a bit more of the community building, but it also, in the background, allows you to show families that you have a long history, that it's a great tradition what you're offering, that there are there's some good people that have historically been involved in your camp. And even if you're only a couple years old, showing older photos can get some great like comments and shares from your existing families. One thing that is important to understand for all of these is that the one thing that you actually control, that you own, is your website. And that's why I think it's incredibly important to blog on your website and then to share that, share a link to that on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're doing social media, that it always starts on your own site. That is the thing that you own. Facebook can at any point take away your Facebook page, and it's happened more times than you'd hope, for really no real reason, or just a contravention of their terms of service that the organization wasn't paying attention well enough and they just got their whole site taken away. So you can lose your Facebook page, but you will always own your blog, your website, etc. So it always goes there. The other reason for this is that Google has said, with all their changes in the last couple of years, they want to get people in the habit of not thinking, how do I match what I'm saying against these keywords that I'm trying to show up for? They're trying to get everyone away from that. And instead, what they want you to do is write a good post, share it on social media, and have other people share it around. So that's what's going to be the stuff that shows up in search results if you have something that others share. So therefore it has value to them. So you always start on your blog post, and then you start the sharing by writing your blog post, sharing it on your Facebook page, your Twitter, Google Plus, whatever it is you're using, Pinterest. Um, the other thing is that so this Monday of Memories is often photos of alumni, camper staff, etc. from the past. It's great if you have old black and white shots that you can scan. I would also include stuff like old camp badges or pennies, even some old camp clothes from the tuck shop and postcards. I know that the camp that we used to run, we would often get people would send us up postcards that were 40, 50 years old. And it was great when we could highlight that. I love this day, this Monday Memories, Throwback Thursday, whatever it is. I love it because it gets a lot of traction, a lot of like comments and shares. And I know this from our friends at Camp Kinto, who shared with me that when they do this and people go to expect it, so it's always Monday, you go and check the camp website or check the camp Facebook to find the link to the Monday Memories. And um, those days, that one day of the week gets more traffic than all the other days of the week combined. So I know that this works. The other thing that you could do, so if you post it on your blog post, and then instead of just reposting one of those photos that you just posted, or you're reposting the only photo to Facebook and therefore not moving people from Facebook to your website, if instead you post and publish the blog post, take a screenshot of the whole website with that one visible photo on it, then you can say, please come to our website to leave us a comment to help us identify who's in this photo. Or, if this is someone within your family, then share this photo. Or if this is your favorite counselor, then please leave us a comment with your favorite memory of him or her. All of those things are to move people from Facebook to your blog, but also to increase the interaction on that particular blog post, but also the Facebook post. That's a great day, an easy thing to do if you can organize that ahead of time. The other nice thing about this is that this is easy to write ahead of time. Sit down for a couple of hours, scan some photos, write up very short blog posts about it. Could even have very little text and still get lots of traction, but you could do it all ahead of time and schedule it. Tuesday is a little bit different. But again, we're always thinking about how do we show new families that we are serious about this, that we can do this job really well. And so Tuesday is the theme I've written here is what camp has to offer. So it's stories, photos, and letters that show your camp can build a child up and make them full of that idea of true grit that's so popular in education theory right now, that it's not the smartest kids, it's those kids who learn to continue with adversity. And that's the camp lesson through and through, those who carry on through adversity, who try new things, etc. And so you want to visually tell those stories. If you've heard my presentations before, that you know that tell your story is always my baseline thesis. This doesn't have to be complicated as long as you're telling the stories of camp, how it's affected people, um, what friends you met where, etc., how it changed your thinking about the world. And so you want Tuesday to demonstrate that using stories, photos, letters, anything that you can. It actually brings up another point that's unrelated but could help you with a day like Tuesday where you're trying to show those stories is I always encourage not families, I encourage clients in the camp business and other business to collect what we call the Book of Love. Some organizations call it their brag book, and it is all of the cards, letters, emails that you've got from families that you've touched that are thanking you for the work that you've done. And some years you might only get 3 or 4 of them. Some years something awesome and new might have happened. You might get dozens of them. But I would start to collect those so that when you go to a camp fair or you're doing a camp presentation somewhere, you can have that book to show off. But you could also scan those and use them for your Tuesday blog post. So you're having a bit of the social proof of the great things that camp does. And you have that to show very visually. This, of course, mixes in with Wednesday, which is the social proof day, because it gives you the testimonials. I said retweets in here, so if you have campers who say what a great time you have at camp, then you could schedule those retweeting what those families have said throughout the year, not just on the one day that it comes up. You could repeat those a number of times throughout the year so that you're showing other new families that camp has had a strong impact on those kids. And collecting that Book of Love stuff is a great resource for this, because you're saying in other people's words, it's not just us saying we're awesome. Here's all these other people saying that we're awesome, and that's helpful. Thursday is about building community, and this is really the idea that we are at camp for some people. It's only a week of the summer, some it's a month, some it's 4 months of the year, but camp is bigger than that. What we learned at camp, how we think about the world grows from our camp experience, and it's a big part of who we are outside of camp. We've often talked about the real world versus the mundane world, and that we, as camp people, often think of camp as being the real world, and that everything outside of camp is the mundane world. This is certainly how we explain why we stayed as camp directors into our adulthood, when people thought we should be done, when we were done counseling, because people would say, well, why don't you get a real job, or why don't you pay attention to what's going on in the real world? And we would say, this is real. This is very real, what we're doing here, and why. And so for Thursday, we talk about how we apply those camp things to the real world. And that means sharing pictures and posts from volunteer work that camp staff does. They're, may have an internship at a veterinary hospital. They may be working in an after school program at a community center, etc. If you can show that the lessons from summer go past September, then you have proof for those families that it's a great thing. Sending their kids to camp has a great positive effect. The other thing that you could do, and I encourage camps really to do, is to have programs off-site and outside of the summer, so that you can show your camp in the community. You could at this point also use pictures from the summer of your kids volunteering at a local program in the closest town to your camp, etc. That's what you put in on Thursday in terms of building community. It's building the wider community. Friday is the day that you do a bit of selling. It is 1 out of 7 that you're being a bit more overt about. Here's the information you need to buy camp. So this is when registration is changing. If we're getting an early bird price jump coming up in a month, you start to know that ahead of time. Here's the deadline for when you have to send in your forms, or if you want to get your first pick of cabins, whatever timely information that the families need to know, that you do that on on Friday. It's also a great time to start to say, it's looking like this session is going to be full. If you want to get into it, now's the time. If not, then we have this alternative session in July, if the August one fills, that you could also register for. But this one's filling. And giving people that sense of urgency is an important part of getting them to turn around and um, invest in camp in a timely manner instead of just putting it off. I've talked to a few camps this year that are moving the registration dates back because families really like to leave it to the last minute. So they're working on an education program using something like this calendar to get people to register earlier. That certainly helps for cash flow, but gives you a bit more idea who's coming and when, and helps with your hiring, etc. So Saturday in this sample is about professional staff. You can use photos and videos to show the level of training that they get, your staff at conferences, your staff speaking at conferences, um, your staff doing training. We always had waterfront staff who were lifeguards and first aid instructors outside of camp, and we can show that we have this X number of lifeguard first aid instructors on our staff. It helps families again feel feel safe with your staff because of what they do. Sundays a bit later, a little less. It's still strategic, but it's a little less intentional. It's really just any photos or videos that you can show, probably not even related to camp, that just encourage the idea of trust, that we want to build trust with you, that trust is important, that as a family you can trust us to look after your kids. So just reinforce the idea that we're a trustworthy organization by spending Sunday on. There's lots of photos and videos that come out. People doing good things. I love any ideas or videos that we see that, and Beth often uses them for her STAN teen leadership program, that are teens doing great things in the community. And this is, building trust within our community, trusting teens to do the right thing. All those things are important things that you could do on Sunday. And that covers the sample and what a posting plan could look like. You're welcome to just use this or to figure out how it specifically applies to your community. If your camp is focused on kids with special needs, then you're going to have to change the way that these days are laid out. At this point, I'm going to say, if there's anybody who has any questions, just put a question in there. I thank you to the people who are watching now for joining us, and it's a great time to ask questions about this specifically. I'll deal with the examples in just a second. There's something else I was going to say about that, but I don't recall. So it'll probably come up in everything else that we talk about. So ask a question if you have it from what you've seen and heard. The next thing that we have is the next sheet in this Excel file, the next spreadsheet, is called example week number 1. And you'll see that all the tabs across the bottom are all the months, with this plus the other 3 weeks in a month or 4 weeks in a month down below them, but blank. And I wanted to show you just 1 week of how I would organize this if I was running summer camp right now, and how I would organize it so that it would be as maximum effective as possible. I've always organized these sheets the way that they're laid out so that the ones that we think are most important, most effective, etc., are at the top, and then continue down to the least important or least effective, or even a bit of timing, like how often you have to do it. So again, putting stuff on your camp log is the most important thing you can do, as long as you support that blog post with posting it to Facebook, posting it to Twitter, wherever you're using your social media, wherever your people are, posting a photo of the front page of your website to Instagram. Instagram, it's hard because they don't allow links out from the description that you write, but you could still put the text in there. It's just not hot linked and ready to go. Anything you can do to spread the word of your camp blog. You can also invite people to sign up to receive notification by email when you post new blog posts. And that's sort of the email newsletter that I've talked about at the bottom or put at the bottom level. But it's really just, hey, here's a new blog post. And people could choose to do that just to know when new stuff comes out. So you let people know in any way you can. I'm suggesting here that of all the days of the week, that you create 3 blog posts. For your camp, it may be you could do 7 days of blog posts a week. That's really quite rare. I doubt there are many camps that actually have the people power to do that. But I think you should do at minimum 1 blog post per week. And so I've just laid it out as an example. So looking at the days of the week, the first note in the weekdays column is to change your Facebook cover photo. And I think once a month, you should change your cover photo in Facebook. And this is just anecdotal. I haven't been able to prove it with any of the statistics, but I have noticed that when you change your Facebook cover photo, more people see it than if you just do a new photo post. And so that's a trick you can use to just draw people back in or to get that new piece of information out to people. And Facebook cover photos should have some purpose. It should be to give them some more information, inform them about upcoming things, or to make a statement, put out your tagline to families. It shouldn't just be a photo of campers or campers and staff, which is a much better photo to show campers interacting with your great staff. It can't just be a good photo. It needs to be something with a bit of purpose. I would do that once a month. Then on Sunday, because it's a little bit easier, you're trying to build trust again on that. Going back to the sample posting, you want to build trust. But I've also said that you can ask questions a couple of times a week to draw a little bit more of the like, comment, and share by putting out a question. So this question in particular would get a good response from kids. What cabin or tent do you hope to be in next year? Who do you hope your counselor is going to be? Question could be as simple as, what's your favorite smell when you're at camp? Or what smell always reminds you of camp? So Sunday could be a question day, or it could be those photos or videos on the theme of trust or gratitude. Some camps have a theme for the summer, and so could use Sunday as a day to start to illustrate how the theme for the summer, how you came to that idea, and illustrate some of the ideas. So that's on Facebook. Monday, then we turn to the Blast from the Past photo, the Monday of Memories, and post that up on the blog. Post it to Facebook saying, can you tag anyone in this photo, or can you come to our website and leave a comment with whoever's in there? And that gets a bit of interaction and a bit of call to people. You see that I've put that in the morning on Twitter as well on Monday, who's the summer camp alumni on our blog with a link to it. And we're calling to that in a number of different places throughout that day of Monday. You'll see in Twitter that I have scheduled 2 different posts per day for Twitter. And I've done that on purpose because people use Twitter different than they use Facebook. People go to Facebook as much as 12 or 15 times a day. And what that means is they will scroll through the news feed until they get to old news and then they'll leave. But in Twitter, most people will check in on a hashtag or just sort of dip their toe, and there'll be a lot of information that happened from the last time they were at Twitter, and they just sort of dip their toe into the stream of information that's coming from Twitter. So it's helpful to try to reach people at the most effective time on Twitter for them. There's also a new tool that we learned about last week called Tweriod, which is TWERIOD, like period, but TW at the beginning, .com. And Tweriod will allow you to put your Twitter handle in, and it will examine all of the people who follow you to know when they're most often online, what time of the day that most of them are online. So therefore, when you should schedule your tweets. And so, for example, for Camp Hacker, we know that people are followers are most often online in checking Twitter between 11 and 12, and then again between 3 and 6 at night. So we schedule all of our tweets in those 2 periods a day. That's when our AM and PM tweets would go. The first tweet in the morning is the blog post or a call to whatever we posted on Facebook if we don't have time to write a blog post that day. But the second tweet in the afternoon is the deep links. Those are going back to the old FAQ questions, meals, safety, the qualifications of your staff, any of those pages that you've written that you can draw people back to. And you should also do things like invite them to retweet the post that you post on Twitter or to share it on Facebook so that that spreads. Tuesday, you can see I've just gone pretty simple, a photo from the summer, but I've sent it out I've posted the photo on Facebook. Would be a good idea to post on your blog, but for this case, it's on Facebook, and then shared out the link to it on Twitter as well with a bit of a deep link. And Wednesday is another question. Again, this is the one, what smell for the post. I love that one because people, if you can engage people in their senses, it helps strongly reinforce their memories. If you can reach out to their senses or make them dig into their senses, and smell is one of the strongest senses associated with memory. So I like to do that, to put that out on Facebook on the day. Thursday, these days are a bit different than what I set up in the proposal in the sample plan. As you can see, Thursday in this week, sample week, is the reinforcing deadlines, etc. So register for Camp Now, or if you're a camp that says, hey, alumni, we will hold your space and only open up to returning campers for a certain small period of time, then and we'll hold your space for until September 30th, then you're encouraging families to get used to the idea of registering early, but also building up a feeling of being strongly attached to camp because you've done that early. So that's some of the things you could do on the Thursday. And Friday, I'm drawing attention on the blog to places that you could go within the blog. So taking them from the blog post into different areas. If you want information about our safety procedures, here are 3 or 4 blog posts and an FAQ. If you would like to know about what happens with your campers after dark, then click on these links to take you to find out about how we take our kids to brush their teeth and go to the bathroom before they go to bed, what happens when they get to their cabin at night, and it's time for them to be quiet. If you're a day camp, it may be while when between activities finishing and parents coming to pick up their kids, what happens with their kid? Are they just sitting bored? Well, no. At our camp at this period, they're doing something to keep them engaged and excited about the time. And um, and all those things just help reinforce the idea of what you do and how you do it well. So I have again said that camp, Facebook, and the blog, Facebook, and Twitter are the most important things, but all these other things you could be doing, and I've scheduled in a bit of what you could be doing if you were including it. So Pinterest, we know from recent research, is the second biggest driver of traffic to your website. So if you have a Pinterest board that has you get people interested in your Pinterest board because you have boards about fun, campy things to do at home with your family, what to do to keep your kids' camp education going throughout the year, boards like that, but also mixed with boards of here are our sessions, here's why we have our age groups set up the way they are, just to inform parents. You can be posting them to Pinterest, always, again, having a link that draws them through to your website, either straight to your registration page or to more information on your FAQ page. But Pinterest is a huge thing that not a lot of camps are using, and could make a huge difference for camps. The other thing with Pinterest is that people will check out your boards and keep scrolling backwards. They're not just interested in the very last thing that you did. If they find your board, they will spend time and go back through them. Or if they check in and open up see that you have put one new thing to your boards, they will also spend time and check out to see if there's any other board things they've missed. So Pinterest is powerful. Instagram can be a good selling vehicle for you, but I really like it for the idea of continuing your community with your campers, showing them, um, when you run across staff. We've always had at our camp, and this continues to this day with the Alumni Association, we have a hashtag or a way of organizing things called Spot the Staffy. And that is for when staff run into each other in crazy places, they take a picture together and post that. And that's perfect for Instagram. That's the kind of thing that will get lots of comments and um, likes. And we've had Spot the Staffies from across Europe, across North America, in funny places. Where people have gone to a resort and seen their kids' counselor be working at the resort, and they take a picture and send it into camp, to be used on Facebook, the blog, whatever. But it's always called Spot the Staffy. So that'd be a good thing for Instagram. But Instagram would also be a good thing, like if your winter office is still at camp. I think kids love to see what camp looks like when they're not there. I know lots of staff that we've hired that come up in the spring and work in spring staff before the leaves come out on the trees, who can't believe how different camp looks without leaves on trees. And sharing that with them through Instagram is a perfect tool. So there's a couple of other things today at camp, today in the camp office. Here's a historical picture or a picture from this summer. We have a camp client who is in effect scanning their old photos by taking a photo of them with their iPhone and posting that to their Instagram. And they're getting some great traffic because of that. The next thing down the line would be YouTube. It's hard to do YouTube every day for very obvious reasons. But if you could add something to your YouTube channel once a week, even if it is just handheld, here's a quick idea, try this, or this reunion's coming up, whatever it is, something really quick on YouTube, then you can make use of YouTube, where a lot of your campers will be looking for videos about camp, where a lot of families will be looking for more about you. I put in Google Plus because Google is forcing us to take it seriously. I don't know that you're going to find that you sell a lot of camp through Google Plus, but it's worth cross-posting your blog post there, or a link to your blog post from Google Plus, and using Google Plus for things like more deep links, because it will bring your internal pages, to Google's attention and help that out. The other thing is, when you post something new, so you post something new on Monday to your blog and something new on Thursday to your YouTube, you could use Facebook and Twitter to draw attention to either one of those on that day. But you could also, when we post blog posts, and we're trying to get clients to do this, when you post a blog post, you send it out to Facebook and Twitter, and then use the scheduling mechanism to send people back to that blog post a number of times. We will schedule callbacks to that blog post, and this could be your PM Twitter deep links. Callbacks to that blog post, we will schedule them for the next 6 months. So once a week, once or 2 weeks, we'll send the same link out on Twitter, because we know that people, when they dip their toe in, they're not going to get all the information. So very few of them will actually see the same post 3 or 4 times. You could post a deep link post on Facebook as well, but you wouldn't want to repeat it as often. You post a link on the day you post a new blog post, you link to it from Facebook, and then you might call back to it once a month after that. But you could use the scheduling of deep links and on Google Plus and keep that going using more of those links. The last thing that's in there is to plan for your email newsletter. And newsletters, I know, are hard to find time for, but I think it's hard to deny that email newsletters are effective in terms of marketing. In an ideal world, you would have your newsletter that you're already sending out to campers. Here's who's been hired. Here's when reunion is. Don't forget this registration date. But you would mix that with another newsletter that is just about marketing. Here's some information, questions you should ask a camp director when you do a tour. how to inform your child about camp, how to know when your camper is ready for camp, etc. You could pre-write a whole bunch of white papers, PDFs, checklists, and have that ready to go so that when people sign up for your mailing list, your email newsletter, marketing newsletter, that they would get that stuff automatically. You'd have those two separate emails. Most camps aren't going to have time, and I acknowledge that. And so, what I think you should do in your email newsletter is get people who are thinking about camp signed up to the email newsletter that you're already sending to your current camp families. But make sure that that camp newsletter that you're already sending out, be it once a month or every 2 weeks, whatever it is, you should, at the top of that, the very start of that newsletter, you should focus on, here is information for families who are trying to make a camp decision. And, write the post there and say, because you're sending it to your current families who already love you, say to them, send out this article. If you know a family who has a kid who's camp age that you think would be great at camp, then send them this article. That's the same as that's happened to our family, to friends of our family, where we would see their kids who known since they're really little, but they're growing up, and we finally say to those families, those parents, even if they're not campy, your kid would love camp. She would be so awesome at camp. And in this particular case that I'm thinking of, it was friends of ours where neither parent had been to camp. Um, but we said, you got to send your daughter to camp, your oldest daughter to camp, and the youngest daughter's getting ready to go. But your oldest daughter's ready. She'd be awesome. She would love it. And so they did. They sent her away to camp. And what I wish that camp had done was collect the stories that I heard from those parents and use them on the social proof day, because those parents told us, our daughter's completely different. We're so glad you said send her to camp because she's different. She's 9 years old, but the difference in her is amazing. So when she's finished her meal, she gets up and cleans the table and puts dishes in the dishwasher. When she gets up in the morning, she makes her own bed, and she's doing better at looking after her sister. She is better at carrying on conversations with adults. And all of this is about camp. And that takes us right back around to the very beginning where I said the best question you can ask your camp parents is, what are the changes you've seen in your child? Because that shows parents what you can do for kids. And all of those things could be collected and used on the different days. I'm going to finish the recording up now, and I thank everybody for watching. And please let us know if you have any other questions or there's anything else that we can do to help you. If you want us to sit down and work through this, of course, we're available to do that. But just let us know. So thanks very much for watching. This is Travis Allison from CampHacker.tv, and you've been watching the Summer Camp Marketing Calendar webinar.